Right, okay, so today's video I'm going to be going into part 2 of my L to L drill, and what I want you to do is we'll be working on our two skill levels that's going to up your game. So come on, let's go do this now. Right, okay, so in my last video we called it the L to L video, or how to do the most important drill, I suppose, to learning golf. I wanted to bring you part 2. Okay, so once you've mastered or you're able to do the L to L, now just to recap on the L to L was really where we was getting a feeling of you swinging the golf club where you were getting the club to create an L shape on the backswing. Okay, so you got this formation here where your left arm was parallel to the ground, back of your left hand was fairly flat, and the club was pointing down towards the ground. And on the downswing, you release that L shape and you create and let the arms release out to the ball, and then you create the L shape again on the follow through. Okay, there was no body action involved. We weren't really getting the hips to turn yet or anything like this, or getting the shoulders to move. This was just a case of swinging the club down, L, and then swinging up to this L on the follow through. Okay, where again my right arm is now doing a mirror image of what it did on the backswing. Left arm is parallel to the ground, back of my right hand is now flat. Okay, and the club shaft is now pointing towards the ground. All right, I was allowing just momentum just to take the club back and forth, and it was important that we worked on that, because getting that feeling or having that sensation is really more a case of allowing the arms just to sort of swing more or less independently of the body, not totally, because the body is important, yes, I agree with that, but it was just to get a feeling of swinging the club back and swinging it through towards the target. All right, so it was just really a case of just allowing the club just to create that L and that L. All right, you don't need a lot of body movement in order to do this, and it's very important. All right, but what I wanted to do with this video this week is really take you on to stage 2. Right, once you feel like you can do that L to L, and start adding in what we call face control and path control. Okay, you can only, in my opinion, achieve path and face control once you have ability to actually be able to move your arms independently of the body. The body then supports that and gives it the foundations that you need. But most golfers on their tours and so on, they actually learn this skill first from a young age. Okay, so we're going to talk about face control. Okay, this generally has a direction of where the ball would tend to start to, or start in the line of the swing, and the path tends to end up where it's going to finish, if that makes sense. But you can have total control of this thing. This thing really, for me, is king. Getting this thing to point where you want the ball to go is going to generally send it in the right direction, if that makes sense. And having control of this club face is vital to have a good game of golf, to be honest with you. All right, now in my opinion, again, how we control this is really with these. Okay, these things here is what controls that club face, and if you can gain control of these, you're going to have fantastic control of this. All right, now bearing in mind as well, we're basing this on the fact that you have the perfect golf grip. All right, and that also would be a totally different video altogether. We'll do that probably another time. But generally, let's base this on the fact that you've got the perfect golf grip, and we're going to teach you today on how to control the club face in order to gain control of your shots on the course, okay, and take this L to L to a second level. All right, so it's very important we get this right first, and you've got to go and practice this. All right, you can't just expect it to just happen. All right, you're going to go to the range and you're going to have to hit shots where you're hitting one off to the right, off to the straight down the middle, and then off to the left hand side, to get used to how much you've got to do it in order to bend the ball or get the ball to go to a different direction. All right, so I'm going to try to encourage you to do that. All right, so now it's very important, first of all, as well, that you probably notice on the floor that I've got 3 alignment sticks. I've got one which runs fairly much straight down towards my target line, which is the orange one, and I've got one to the right and to the left. These are what I'm going to call my gates. All right, and I'm going to try and get the ball to pass over these gates in order to show you the different directions. I might get some going way left of it and way right of it, but we'll have to come down and see on that one. All right, obviously I'm using my flight scope as well, and I'll try and add the video onto the corner of this shot here as well, so that you can see the shots in real time, if that makes sense. All right, distance isn't the key thing here, remember that as well. I'm really looking at club face control. Okay, now how do I control the club face? All right, now I can use both my hands. Okay, they're both going to control the club. They will have how I turn and use my hands is how is going to decide which way that the ball will start or end up as well. All right, So my right hand, let's start with my right hand first of all. My right hand is really a mirror image of the club face, all right? And I position it on the grip as so, all right? I don't have my right hand sitting underneath, I don't have it on top. I have it so that it's pretty much plumb in line with the club face itself, or the leading edge of the club face, all right? And my right hand is a real key for this. And if I stand here like so, if I had my right hand and I was just to turn it this way, okay, turn my right hand that way, my club face will turn that way as well, all right? If I was to swing it straight or use my throwing action that I tend to prescribe and would suggest that you will do as well, by throwing action, my club face is going to stay fairly square or straight to the target. But if I was to turn my hand this way, okay, my hand that way, the club face will come with me and my hand will work and the club will open up towards the target. All right, so I've got what we call a closed club face, a square, and an open club face. All right, it's very important you understand that. So standing there with, I don't know if I've got anything really, a box of, Pro V box, all right? So standing with my Pro V box, I can practice with a TV remote. If you've got one at home now, you can stand there with it and you can just practice with your right hand saying, right, okay, closed, square, open, okay? Square, closed, open. Practice it, all right? And you can work on that until you can do it on the golf swing as well, okay? So taking hold of the golf club here, I can practice going square, closed, open, all right? And I'm doing this all with my right hand only, all right? So I take my left hand off even if you want. Standing here, I'm going to go closed, square, open, all right? And it's very important that you practice that and get used to doing this in the golf swing, all right? Once you can gain control of that, and you're going to find which one's going to suit you best, because some players work better with the left hand because it's exactly the same with the left hand. Now I know with my left hand, I tend to have mine a lot stronger than most people would have. I can see up to 4 knuckles on the back of my left hand, all right? And there's reasons for that, again, separate video. So if I hold it on the neck of the club like so, if I was to just turn this, so that's square, if I turn my hand to the left, or roll it this way round, you see how the club face now turns and points to the left-hand side. I can keep it square, or if I turn it this way and turn my palm up even more, that's going to point now to the right-hand side. So I'm going closed, square, open, all right? And again, you can do that with a box or you can do that with a remote. I'm going to go open, square, closed, and just keep practicing the different feelings of how that feels. And then you can take hold of the golf club and you can do it then with the club itself, okay? You can then practice going, sort of going square, closed, open, all right? Just so you get a feel for it. And what we're going to do is going to hit some shots and suggest you do that, but just get a feel for it, practice it until it becomes sort of a natural sort of feel, all right? I suggest that you probably do it on a tee peg when you're doing this as well. But all you're going to do from here is just hit a few shots where you're going to just try and get a feeling. You don't have to go mega long. You don't need it to go 180 yards or whatever with your 7-iron or so on. It can just be a nice, gentle 100-yard chip shot down the fairway, all right? Which is probably what I'm going to do here. But with these ones here, I'm just going to try and hit the 3 different shots for you, just so you can get an idea that it's doable, all right? If I can do it, I'm not a tour player by any stretch of the means. I'm barely a barely a good enough professional, to be fair. But it's just practice. If I can do this, then most people can learn to do this, all right? And that's what I'm trying to get a point here across, all right? So I'm going to feel this more with my right hand, because I am generally right-handed, all right? So what we're going to try on the first one here, I'm just going to swing L to L, and I'm just going to try and really get the hand to turn and get the club face to turn and point to the left when it hits the ball. I'm not trying to change path here too much, okay? I'm just going to try and swing it straight down that orange shaft, but I'm actually going to allow the club face to turn. This should start the ball well left and probably go even further left, all right? So let's give it a go, all right? So I'm just going to go L to L, and I'm just going to allow that right hand to turn over, okay? So I'm going to go L and L, all right? That should have turned over quite a long way to the left-hand side, all right? Second one, I'll just double check that got it. Oh, that's a peach. That's gone well left. Flipping heck. All right, second one. I'm going to try and hit this one fairly straight. It's impossible to hit a straight shot, but I'm going to try and do as much as I possibly can. I'm going to try and feel as though my right hand releases and goes stays fairly neutral through impact. All right, and I'm going to try and swing this one down that orange shaft alignment. So I'm just going to swing back L and L. Okay, that should be fairly straight. And then the last one, which I'm not very good at this one, I need to practice this one as well, which is getting the club face to open through impact. So I'm just going to feel as though, funny enough, this is a baseball trick really. If you're throwing or spinning a ball, you probably would use this middle finger a little bit more to put a little bit more spin on it. So I can use that a little bit to try and spin that this way and spin my wrist that way. So if I'm trying to spin the ball when it's on the ground here, I would use that middle finger here. For the draw one, I'd use this one. Okay, I'd use this finger here to try and pull that over. All right, so you can even break it down to using just the fingers. All right, so it's going to swing L, L to L. I'm going to try and keep the club face a little open on this one as I swing through. Okay, so L and L. All right, might be fairly straight, that one, but anyway, not bad for me. If it's gone straight, then it's club face is open for me. All right, so really important that you practice those and get used to that as well. All right, so being able to do it on a whim is really, really key, really important. So you've got to be able to stand here and just flick from one to another, just practicing that feeling. So just L, fairly straight. That's what I was going for there, hopefully. Hopefully the flight scope picked that up. Or let's try and go for a bit of a drawy one. Let's try and pull that one again like I did on the first shot. I'm going to use this forefinger here, this trigger finger here, and just sort of use it to flick it over, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm just going to go L and L. Yeah, that's gone way left. All right, so really learning to use those hands is vital when you're practicing or playing this game. All right, now the next part that you can do as well is you can then change loft. All right, how do I do that? Again, using my right hand, because my hand works in this manner. Okay, or when I'm playing it, I'm using it as a throw-in technique. All I've got to do then is change this angle in order to change the loft of the club face. All right, so if I keep the angle in the wrist for a bit more, you can see how that will de-loft. You can see how my shaft changes here. If I was to keep that angle in my wrist, the shaft angle would change. Okay, and I would de-loft it. Or if I was to open that angle up even more, okay, the shaft angle will go back the other way. You can see how that? And I've just added loft to the club. So I can increase the loft, decrease the loft, or have standard loft. All right? And you can play around with that again. So I can stand there. I'm going to try and hit this one a little lower. So I'm going to hold that angle for as long as I possibly can. Again, just swinging L to L. I still release it into that L, but I'm just holding it a little later with that wrist. All right? So I'm just going to hold back, and knock it through. That should keep it nice and straight, but also should hit it a lot lower than some of the other shots that have been on the screen. All right, try a higher one. I'm just going to release that wrist a little earlier and present a bit more loft to the club. All right, so just going to stand here, back and through. Got a little low on the blade, might not go as high, but should go high-ish, okay? But I'm just allowing the club head to release through. So I'm using my hands, again, it'd be the same with my left hand. I can de-loft it by trying to keep that angle in there a bit more, or I can add loft on, okay? And that's how I'm doing it. So you'll often see me practicing by doing this. I'm doing this a lot when I'm practicing with my hands. I'm working it through, I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. You know, I used to see Sevi doing this all the time. He used to stand there and used to try and, you know, feel with his hands, and he was always deemed to be a field player. But most golfers can do that, especially on the professional ranks. They can do that quite regularly. You know, they can play little low knockdown shots just with their hands and arms. It's not always about, you know, turning the body and getting into this position and doing this, that, and the other, and bowing that left wrist to try and knock it down and so on. You know, get used to playing with your hands. Seriously, it will make a massive difference to how you strike the ball, but also the control that you have. You'll surprise yourself at how well you can do it. I think if you was to have a tennis racket or a cricket bat in our country, you know, if I said to you, right, hit it off to the left-hand side of the court, you'd have no problems in rolling the hand over and knocking it that way. You wouldn't even think about it. To the right-hand side, you'd push it through to the target that way. and yet we give you a golf club and you suddenly just can't do that. It's still a bat and ball sport at the end of the day. The ball will be governed pretty much by what this does, all right? Yes, path is important, but more club face, in my opinion, that's what's going to give you the control of the ball. So give this a try. This is the next level, okay? This is taking it up. So being able to hit the different shots, when you go to the range next, and you've got, especially if you've got like a top tracer or things like that, stand there and try and get the patterns to change on the screen. Okay, try and create that love heart that we see on Instagram. It's quite a popular thing. Trying to hit the shots, it goes out to the right and turns back to the left, but it's all down to club face control for me. So give that a go. All right. Okay, so the second part to this then is changing path. All right, and this is where these gates come into their own now. Okay, so I'm going to change my perception of how my arms swing to the target. So I'm going to always be standing square when I do this because I'm using the shaft on the ground to do so. But I'm going to get a feeling of either my arms swinging straight down to the target, okay, or straight down to the line towards my orange shaft. Okay, that's where I want the ball to start. Or I'm going to try and get the ball to start using path by swinging my arms more from what we call an in to out movement. Okay, I'm not using my body to do this as such, or I'm going to also then try and swing it from what we call outside to in. So this is square, that's outside to in, and that's inside to out. I'm going to do this with my hands and arms. Okay, so I'm going to get a feeling of changing the path with my hands and arms, okay, or changing the club path. All right, and I'm using my hands and arms to separate that up as well. I'm not going to try and do this with my body. Okay, so what I mean by that is we see a lot of golfers, they throw the right shoulder at it and they then govern that the club where the club's going to go, or they'll dip the shoulder down under like this to try and get it on the inside. All right, I'm going to try and do this by changing the path of the club. Now, by only swinging by L to L, you've got the much better control to do that. All right, so it's very important. So with this one, I really want to try and get a sense of how the club and the hands and arms swing around me, okay, and doing it nice and slowly. Again, not looking for great speeds here, but I just want to get the feeling. So the club the golf swing swings on a circular arc around our bodies, okay, and all I'm trying to do is to change that path of that arc. So whether it be an out to in one or an in to out one, I'm changing that path, but I'm doing it with my hands and arms. I have control of my hands and arms, believe it or not. I can make them do whatever I want them to do, all right? And the club is, yeah, it only weighs a few grams, let's say, to start with. All right, it gains a few pounds as it's swinging in the golf swing, but I have control of my hands and arms. I can make it do whatever I want it to do, okay? I can lift it higher, I can swing it more around me if I want to, or I can swing it straight back, or I can swing it straight through. I can change it. I can do different things with my hands and arms. The club isn't controlling me, I'm controlling it, and that's the key thing to have here, all right? And kids are good at this when they're younger, right? They're not afraid to control the club, all right? It's only when we become a bit more competent at it and have a few more lessons that we're told we're gonna, allow the body to control it a bit more. And bearing in mind as well, a lot of that advice is for the top level pros, all right? So, I'm aiming these videos more at our medium handicappers, let's say. And top level pros, they probably do need to quieten down the hands and arms, but they've been so good at it for so long. Since they were toddlers, they're probably swinging a golf club. They've been doing nothing but swinging their arms. Now they need to add in the body. So remember, there's different skill levels here, all right? But once I started gaining control, anyway, I apologise for that. Bit of wind noise, bit of airplane noise. So what I'm going to do with these ones I'm going to practice it, all right? And what I'm going to be looking for is swing path, not so much club face control, but swing path. That's all I'm worried about here, all right? And I'm going to try and hit some different shots. I'm going to swing the club out so that it swings out towards the right-hand side. I'm going to swing straight. I'm going to swing to the left, all right? And that's what I'm going to try and practice here. So I'm going to get a feel for it. That's what I'm really going to try and get, is a feel for swinging inside to out, or straight down the line, or to the left-hand side. And that's what I really want you to try to master. So let's try and do in to out. So let's go from in to out. All right, I'm pretty good at this one. So let's give it a go. So it's going to swing the club out and in. All right. That felt like I went over the yellow stick on the right hand side there. Feels like I swung it out that way, and that should give me either a push shot to the right hand side or a nice draw maybe, all right? And I'd hope to see that sort of about 3 or 4 degrees out to the right hand side. I'm then going to try and swing this one nice and straight down the line. Again, only swinging from L to L, not putting a lot of body movement into this one. So I'm going to swing back is L to L. Felt like that went pretty much over that orange stick. That should be a fairly straightish one. Again, it's impossible to hit. I mean, you can get 0 numbers if you really work at it. But I basically jumped out here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to film this video for you guys. And I haven't really been practicing all morning. Okay, and then this one here, I'm just going to swing from out to in. Again, I'm going to get a feeling. Well, I'm going to get a feeling of what I need to do to try and get that feeling. All right, this could just pull it left for me if I do this. So I'm just going to swing back and left. All right, and that should give me differentials in swing path. Okay, hopefully you're seeing that on the screen now. So it's important to play with that, because if you can do that, then you're going to have total control of the club, which is what you want. All right, and it's very important that we practice that during the golf swing, because once you get that L to L and you can practice these with ease and you can change the swing easily, then you're just going to have more control than you could ever believe. Okay, and hit the ball hopefully quite well. All right, so that's section 2. Learn how to control the path of the club once you've got control of the club face. All right, then we're going to move on to section 3. Okay, so the third and final part of this one, all right, is then combining the 2 skill levels up. So not only are you going to be using club face to control the ball, you're also going to use the path as well. All right, so you're going to nominate shots. So I can play a draw shot where I swing the path. The club path is going to swing from inside to out of the target line, but the club face is going to be closed to that path line as well. Okay, not necessarily close to the target line, because that's just going to pull it straight left. But it's going to be, say if I was swinging from 10 degrees out to the right hand side, I'd want my club face to be turned 5 degrees at impact, and that's going to give me a beautiful little draw. All right, but again, it's quite a hard skill to learn to do that. All right, but ideally what we want to do here is to get a feeling of you practicing being able to do the 2 skills together. All right, which is swinging the club head out from, say, inside to out, but you're actually then going to turn the club face over, or you're going to keep it nice and square, or open it even. If you want to hit a straight big push out to the right hand side, that's the best way of doing it. All right, don't be afraid to practice all the different shots that you see. All right, I can swing it straight down the line, keeping the club face nice and square, or I can swing it across by keeping the club face open, or I could even pull it and roll the hands through. It's learning to combine all those shots as well. You can even learn to combine high and low shots as well on this one with a bit of practice. But you know, changing path and club face and adjusting the loft as well, you're going to hit sort of low fades, high draws, low draws, whatever it is you want to hit. You can learn to do these by just playing around with the club face. All right, and like I say, it's just a skill that you need to learn. So let's try and give you some different shots on this one. I've lost the ball somewhere. There it is. Right, so I'll try the 3 different shots for this one for you. So I've got, let's try the draw. All right, so I'm going to learn on this one. I'm going to swing the club head from L to L still. Remember, I'm still only doing L to L, all right, on this. But I'm going to swing the club head more from the inside path, but I'm going to close the club face through impact. I'm going to use this finger, as I said, to sort of rotate it through. All right, so I'm just going to make a few practice swings just to get a feel for that. And then I'm going to try and hit it. All right, so stand here. I'm just going to swing and through. It didn't start as far to the right as I'd like, but it started right and should be turning back into the left-hand side. All right, I'm then going to get a feeling of coming straight down the line, keeping the club face nice and square as I hit through it and hitting through the ball. So I'm going to feel like I can swing the club head down the line and then off towards the target and use my hands correctly. Don't allow them to pass over and keep the club face square. Okay, remember my right hand mirror image is my club face. So I'm just going to swing back and through. Okay, that felt like I swung that down the line, to be fair. Felt pretty neutral. And then the final one, I'm going to then swing across the ball from outside to in. I'm going to try and open that club face. Okay, good old fashioned fade stroke slice. Okay, I'm going to feel like I'm using that middle finger to pull that through there and come across the ball. So get a feeling for the swing path, back and through. Okay, that felt like the club face was open and it felt like it was starting a little bit to the left. It'd be interesting to see what the swing path on that one was. All right, so learn to combine the two different skills. Once you've got those different skills working, then you're in a position then to start being able to control the club face. Use this as an advantage for you. If you're hitting slices, try to hit a draws. Okay, you know how to do it now, and use the skill set to do that. Try and put it out there on the range. Get control of the club face first. Always do control of the club face first, and then look at path. Okay, then you can start to rein it in. You know, if you're starting to feel as though you need to hit the ball, your path is a little bit to the right hand side, start swinging it a little bit more to the left so you get the feeling until you neutralize it out. Or same if you're going to the right, you're swinging to the left, start to neutralize it by swinging more to the right. If you overdo it, then you can pull it back. Remember, you're in total control of the club. All right, once you get the feeling of being able to do the L to L, then you're in a position then to start adding in more body motion, more shoulder turn, more hip movement, and using the momentum and the hips to push away from that momentum. Then you can start making fuller swings. But once you get that feeling and you master the L to L, then you're ready to move on up to the full swing. All right, so it's really important. So get the L to L, start working on that first, and then you can start working on controlling club face and controlling path. Then you're well on your way then to becoming a really good golfer. Give those a go, practice it, see how you get on with it. Right, thank you for watching, and hopefully that's given you an insight into how you can learn to control the golf club pretty simply as well, really. It doesn't have to go too technical really with it. Okay, remember, you play golf with these things, okay, these things here, these hands, all right. Use them to shape the shots if you possibly can. All right, but learn skill number one first. You've got to watch the video number one, okay, which is how to do the L to L. L to L is important. It's an important drill. If you can't do L to L, as I said in the first video, then there's no point you can go further on. There's definitely no point in doing this video here if you can't do the first one. All right, so see how you get on. Hopefully it's been informative for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have, please hit that subscribe button, and also add a comment below. If you need any more information or you have any thoughts on the video, then please add a comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer them back. All right, have a good one, and I'll catch you next week.